Hey guys, how's it going? So today I'm going to be talking to you guys about the thinking process of divergent thinking and convergent thinking. We're going to talk a little bit about what those things mean, how they work together, how we use them in ceramics, and then even most importantly, how you can use these thought processes in your life. So let's begin by talking about what they even mean. So divergent thinking is the first step in this thought process that ends with convergent thinking. So first let's talk about divergent thinking. So divergent thinking is this thought process where essentially you're expanding your ideas. You're opening up your mind outward. So if we were to draw it in some sort of diagram, divergent thinking looks something like that. So in divergent thinking, we're thinking of ideas, right? We're not judging the ideas, we're just coming up with a bunch of ideas. You could think of it kind of as brainstorming. This is when you're going to be asking a lot of questions. And remember, no judgment. So even ideas that don't really seem like the best ideas, just come up with them, get them all on paper, something you can see. After you're done with divergent thinking and you have a bunch of different ideas, now is your time to actually start critiquing those ideas, to analyze those ideas, to really condense your thoughts. So let's say you have to come up with some sort of product or project, whatever, very vague, right? You have to come up with some sort of product. First, use divergent thinking to come up with a bunch of different ideas, right? But you can only choose one idea. So that's when convergent thinking comes into play. With convergent thinking, we condense our ideas. We condense our ideas into one. This could happen a variety of ways. Maybe you're simply using convergent thinking to take all these aspects that you like of several ideas and put them into one. Or maybe you're using convergent thinking to look and analyze all of your options and then only choose one of those options. So again, this is when you're critiquing, you're analyzing, you're saying, you know, this idea isn't good because of this, or this would be an issue with this idea. This is the step that you do a lot of those problem-solving skills. So the goal is that once you get to the end of your convergent thinking process, you've come up with a really solid idea that is very well thought through. If we don't consciously go through this whole process, then we tend to choose ideas just from a spur of a moment decision. So instead of brainstorming a bunch of ideas that you probably would have never come up with just naturally, you end up just choosing the one that comes to mind and going with it. And that's when you run into problems. So that's why this process is super, super helpful. So now, let's talk about how we use divergent and convergent thinking in ceramics. So, let's say you have a project. Let's say your project assignment in ceramics is simply to do a vase, right? So you might be inclined to simply just choose your favorite style of vase that comes to your mind first, or you could much more benefit from doing the divergent convergent thinking process to come up with a really successful design. For example, if I'm trying to think of what kind of vase I want to do, and I look at it from a divergent thought process, I might come up with several different ideas. Let's see. Okay, so several different vase ideas. Now what I do is I go through my convergent thinking process to determine which of these vases might be the best project for me to just choose. So if I'm looking at these, right, I might, with my prior knowledge from projects, say, you know, this one might not work very good because the sides might be too heavy and it might want to collapse. So I would say, okay, not going to do that one. And now I continue critiquing the other ones until I come up with the one vase design I would want to do. It might even combine ideas. For example, maybe I decide, you know, I like the height of this one, but the shape of this one. Convergent thinking helps you come up with a really good combination of those ideas. So let's say I end up choosing, let's see, that design. Then I'm going to be set up for success because I've gone through this thought process and I've worked out any problems in my head, and I'm going to have a good time. So that's convergent and divergent thinking in ceramics. Now let's talk about it. Lastly, and probably most importantly, how you can apply this to your life to help you work out really tricky problems, a lot of times within your social life, within relationships, whether they be with friends, family, significant others, etc. Okay, so let's say you have a problem, right? All of this thought process always relates to when you have a problem, however minor it may be. So let's say your problem is you got in an argument with your mom recently, and you kind of walked away from it, you kind of felt kind of bad about it, but you didn't really know what to do about it. Well, there's so many different things you could do about it, right? So what we will do is let's go through the divergent thinking process on how we could handle the situation where you get in an argument with a parent, let's say your mom. So what are some of our options, right? One of our options is maybe we apologize. I don't know what happened to my G in there, but apologize. That's an option. And then what if we also choose to ignore the situation? A lot of you are probably like, well, Singleton, that doesn't sound like a good idea. But remember, in divergent thinking, we are only coming up with ideas. We are not critiquing them yet. That's for the next step. So it's very important just literally to list off any ideas that come to your mind. What else could we do? We could write her a letter explaining our feelings. Or maybe we could simply just vent to another sibling. So lots of different ways to handle this situation. That is what divergent thinking is all about. Next, you're going to go into convergent thinking. So again, this is when you're going to analyze all those choices. Apologizing could be good, but it'll take maybe perhaps me a lot of vulnerability and humility, and I don't know if I'm ready for that. Ignoring her could be good because then I push away the situation, but the challenge would be, is this issue just going to go away, or will I have to deal with it at some point? Will it just get harder to deal with the longer time goes on? A letter could be a great idea, and so on and so forth. So let's say after I've gone through all of these ideas, I finally choose the one that I want to do, and let's say we combine ideas. Let's say we take apologizing and mix it with a letter. And then that is how you come up with a really solid solution to some of many life's problems just by using divergent and convergent thinking. Sometimes thinking things through just in our minds just doesn't do good. If you're ever feeling overwhelmed by a problem in your life, it helps so much to put it out on paper in a very similar format to this. So, hope you enjoyed. Stay thinking, keep thinking critically out there, and take care.